your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from the Double T Sports Network.
Another week, another blowout win. Today's episode will get into some monster days from David Bailey and Cam Dickey, some Lance Leipold tears, pocketknives, quarterback health for Tech and Arizona State. We'll preview the matchup with the Sun Devils, where Tech is a double-digit road favorite, and get into a plethora of questions from the audience. Ask Level podcast, as usual, brought to you by our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction.
This is Mike Hebert, the proud owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. We've been serving West Texas for all of your residential and commercial construction needs for the past 9 years. We would love the opportunity to earn your business. Together, we are one serving you.
Alongside Chris Level, I'm Chois Woodman. Level, 6-0, baby. But screw bowl eligibility, because we're going for more.
That's funny. So I'm after the game is over and there's just chaos, obviously, going on with an interaction between two head coaches after the game. Mm-hmm. One angry coach and one coach going, "Dude, what do you want me to do?" Bro, and so Coach McGuire's wife, Debbie, who's an awesome lady, she walks down the hallway and she's like, bowl eligibility, like she was just kind of being funny. And so I start out my interview. I'm like, okay, coach, bowl eligible. And he just like, bro. And he said a few things, like kind of getting on to me. And I said, coach, I can't put this on the radio. Yeah. So I stopped it. He's like, no, keep it on there. I think we would have gotten in trouble. I don't know if you would have, or I would have, or both of us. But anyway, I stopped it, started over, and he's like, "No, I want you to ask me that again." So I did, and anyway, it was in jest, bigger fish to fry.
Sure.
As I've said, you were trying to fry minnows, now you're trying to fry a whale. As far as bigger fish to fry, So. Yeah, but it's funny you say that, because this is, you just have to remember where you've come from, right?
Yep.
And there's been times, even in recent years, where you're trying to do the math, going, okay, can we get there? Where are they going to come from? And now you're trying to improve your standing and all that. But obviously this seems just a bit different now. So. Yeah, but halfway through, man, and you won them all, and you've won them all in commanding fashion. I think that what is interesting is Woodman, you're what are you in the AP now? What did they move you to?
7.
7? Yeah, 7. And it's kind of weird because there's some teams ranked ahead of you with a loss, and some other teams that are around you that didn't have impressive wins.
Right.
Whatever. But what is fascinating is that a lot of the analytical data, the other formulas that are out there, they are much higher on you, and so it'll be interesting to see when you do get this first CFP ranking, how much they are even looking at the AP poll versus all the other stuff, because the AP poll does factor into it, but I think there's a lot of the other things that have you higher. You just need to continue to control what you can control, though.
Exactly.
And I'd give an appendage for a 7-0 start here. I think maybe a pinky, a small toe, or something.
Yeah, I will definitely get into Arizona State because you've labeled that as your most worried game, I think, from the beginning of the season before we talked about any
back in the summer.
So we will we'll get into that matchup. But you had some enormous days from a couple of guys, really your entire defensive line. But David Bailey lived up to every bit of the billing that we heard in the offseason with one game against Kansas. And then Cam Dickey has one of the best rushing performances ever by a Texas Tech running back. And it was, I think, the best rushing performance by any running back in the country this year. So it was quite a night for a couple of guys, and you needed it.
Yeah, what has been fascinating about this team is that you're a bit of a chameleon. You can win in when I remember the Final Four run with Chris Beard and Mark Adams and that whole deal. You'd gone to the Elite Eight the year before, and then you you get into about early January, and you were just kind of you were good, but you weren't great. You weren't on the national radar or anything like that. And then you just started rattling them off, and you won like 8 or 9 conference games in a row, and ended up tying for a share of the Big 12 championship. And I just remember watching that play out, and that it's like you could just look over to the other guy and go, you decide how you want to play this, but you're gonna die. We are going to do our thing, and you pick how you want it to get done. You want to run up and down the floor.
Yeah.
You want to play a half court game and slow it down. We're good with whatever you want, but good luck. And it was fascinating because you could win in a variety of different ways. You could play any style, and you're starting to see some of that play out with this Texas Tech football team right now. Is that the defense has been a constant. They haven't been perfect at times. I think the second quarter was a interesting situation as you give up like
Sure.
17 points, and it was in a quick spurt, and you go to the locker room going, no momentum, crowd kind of quiet,
Yep.
and you're not real sure what it looks like, but then you outlasted them. But the offensive part of this is what is really what you're touching on, and to basically just say we don't really need to throw it. We don't have to throw it down the field. We're just going to run it right at you. We're going to gash you. We're going to take away your soul, and we're going to, and Cam Dickey was a guy that we had some questions about in August. Like, can he handle this role once Quentin Joyner went down?
Sure.
What does it look like? And he's just done nothing but get better and better. And you look at it now, and he's kind of one of the better backs in the Big 12. Like it's our little secret, and I appreciated it because Jacoby is healthy, but he's not 100%,
Right.
and you didn't have to lean on him, and now you get a much fresher version of him versus Arizona State, which my guess is you'll probably need. But
Yeah.
yeah, pick the way you want to defend them, I guess is what I'm saying to you, because you've got an answer for a lot of this as long as you can keep the majority of these guys healthy.
There's been a lot of negative talk about offensive line over the last decade or so, and understandably so. I mean, the holes that Cam Dickey was running through, I think that first 71-yard touchdown, I don't believe he ever got touched on it. And it he had some enormous holes to run through. So that was a offensive line that imposed their will on Kansas's defensive line, and that was a refreshing sight to see.
Yeah, and I think you do in like for Cam Dickey though you do see the speed.
Oh, sure you do. It
Yeah,
turns on.
because he's got legit speed that he wasn't getting caught on either one of the two long
Yep.
ones. What was it, 71 and a 55 yarder?
Correct on both. Yeah.
And he just wasn't getting caught. And like I don't know if Taj Brooks can make those runs.
I don't think he has the
Like all the like the top end
sure.
speed. I mean,
Sure.
he could have turned those into big gains, but it wouldn't. They may have not ended up being touchdowns. I'm just giving you a comparison there, but that's a compliment to Cam on what he's got. But yeah, your offensive line continues to get a lot better. If you want to knock them for anything, it's just there's still a few too many penalties. I
Hmm.
think you've combined for 20 holding and false start penalties total.
Yep.
And you get that cleaned up and the sky's the limit. But right now there's still a few of those issues, but generally speaking, they are playing much better. It's cohesive. So much so that you're trying to redshirt Hunter Zambrano. You've got Cash Cleveland back. You're about to get Holton Hendricks back. Daniel Sill has been a part of the goal line situation
Hmm.
at times when you needed that, and Vinny Scurry's still sitting there.
Right.
So you just feel, I mean, credit to Clay McGuire, credit to Josh Cochran for what they're drawing up, and credit to Garrett McGuire as well. It's just the run game and the group up front, and I think that it needs to be mentioned too. We kind of had questions about did you have the kind of tight end group
Yeah.
that could get dirty and do some of the things like last year's group did to allow you to run the football, or were they just pass catchers? And I think John Carlos Miller and Terrence Carter have started to answer a lot of those questions as well. So it's just it's been pretty fun to watch, kind of develop. And you're going to need more. You're going to have to go do this again this next weekend as well. But
Sure.
it's been pretty fun to watch kind of come together because you're this is the way it's supposed to work, Choice. You're supposed to get better as you go, and you know this extra gear. I mean, Joey's like I feel like our team's got an extra gear. I think that the crowd has an extra gear.
Yeah.
I think that the broadcast crew needs an extra gear. The producer and engineer needs an extra gear, right?
Maybe
The
two.
sideline, the idiot sideline guy has got an extra gear he can get. So, but seriously, that's what you're seeing is that's the way it's supposed to work, and that's I mean that ought to give you one of the best feelings that you've got is that you feel like you're progressing and getting better, not regressing or not having a hiccup. And this was a huge question mark, and I'm not sure that it is anymore.
So that's the good stuff from the game. There was a lot of good. 42-17 victory over Kansas. Uh, so you still continued to blow out teams, but there was a lot of what do you want to say, minutia that went with the game as well, including tortillas and coach whining about everything, and you had a lot of extracurricular. You mentioned the post game handshake, so we've got a lot of questions in level about basically tortillas and how do you rein this in basically? How do you fix this problem? Because for the first time, we did see two 15-yard penalties enforced against Texas Tech. And I don't even know it's all about tortillas as much as it is about things being thrown towards the opposing sideline.
Yeah, so you know, after rewatching the TV version of this,
Hmm.
they could have, I think, if they wanted to, they could have dinged you for more.
Hmm.
Like this is probably what Lance Leipold was frustrated about is that if you're going to have a rule and then you know like are you going to enforce it? And they kind of did, and I knew he had been complaining about it since before the game had even started, and he was kind of laying the groundwork there
Yep.
and kind of calling out the Big 12 office and the individual Scott Draper that's in the Big 12 offices specifically in charge of football and officiating and all those things. Um, you know, I hate that this happened. I don't know what exactly happened. Okay, so I have no evidence or have not seen or heard anything at the time that you and I are sitting here talking about a pocket knife or anything like that. It's just word of mouth as far as I'm sitting here right now. I have no way of
Yep.
knowing. I know that there were administrators on that Kansas sideline that were talking to Texas Tech officials, maybe not even so politely about what was
Hmm.
going on. So I'm not on the other sideline, right?
Sure.
And I don't know. I do know that like the neon vest people, the KT Black or whoever it is that Jones AT&T Stadium is staffed with, that Texas Tech hires to kind of help out. There were 20
Yeah.
neon vested people in some of these aisles, you know, and I don't know if you have to do it like an NFL game and you have to put people on the field staring up there that just have their back turned to the game the whole time to
Maybe.
see if someone and maybe they do that. I don't know. I think too. What's weird is that it's nobody's fault. People have got to stop, but it's like when Kirby and all this became public, the 15-1 thing, it pissed the fans off.
Yeah.
It's like we'll show you and yet but when it starts to hurt your team it's not funny anymore, it's not cool anymore. And again, I don't know what happened. I did see tortillas going on the field that weren't penalized. Do I think that a tortilla can hurt anybody? Do I think it's a stupid rule? Yeah, as it relates to a tortilla. I think that a lot of this was supposedly, you know, because of the water bottles and beer cans and whatever else. I've seen I've even seen a guy who ought to sit this one out that covers Colorado that has talked about Zen cans and frozen water bottles and all the stuff that he's been throwing out all kinds of accusations from last year. He probably doesn't want to talk about his own program's behavior and their treatment of a ball boy and all those different things, but
Yeah.
the legend grows here.
Sure
The
does.
legend continues to grow. I don't know what Texas Tech is supposed to do about it. Part of me says you should just quit talking about it and maybe it'll just go away. I don't know if that's the right answer
Maybe.
there or not. you're running PA announcements. You've got your best player, Jacob Rodriguez, going, please don't do this. And your head coach has used every platform he could to say, throw him a kickoff. Great, enjoy it, respect the tradition, but then stop. And right now that's not what's happening. So
Yeah, I don't know if it takes Joey McGuire and Jacob Rodriguez or whoever
well,
going to the
that's
student
the
section
oh yeah,
before the
I got you.
game. Maybe you walk up
Yeah.
to them before and do
But I
chat,
don't.
meet people,
But,
those sorts of things. But
but is
I
that
don't know.
Joey's job?
No, it's not. But he's a guy that would absolutely do it if that's what it took to eliminate said issue. So that that's a big, obviously a problem. You don't want that to ever catch up with you. You don't want it to ever catch up. Right now, you haven't played a close enough game. I mean, it was close when one of those penalties came out, but that would be atrocious if you were in a game and it costs you dearly. So now another problem, and this question comes from Paolo on Twitter. In home games, what's going to stop a visiting team from
Oh yeah.
fan from throwing a tortilla on the field and getting it tack a penalty? This is going to happen and may have
Yeah.
happened last or on Saturday night.
What's to stop Texas Tech fans in Houston,
So
Texas, that take over the stadium to just have at it?
So that's the problem with the rule level.
I agree. No,
I mean,
I
that's the
agree.
problem because
Yeah.
if you're going to enforce it, if you're going
Yeah.
to enforce the tortilla rule in Lubbock, Texas, then Houston should have had penalties to the home team
Hmm.
when tortillas were flying on their field. If you're
Yeah.
going to enforce it, that's the name of the rule. This thing can be fine in theory, but in execution, it's crap. So
Yeah.
I think because my brother was sitting on the east side, and he's telling me, he's texting me saying, "Hey, there are three Kansas fans that's sitting over my left shoulder, and once they
He,
figured out it can get Tech a
he
penalty,
needs to film it.
they're trying." Yeah, he does. He does.
I mean, because it's right now everything is word of mouth.
Yes,
I mean, I've seen Kansas. I've seen all the stuff of like Kansas coaches and players were gathering them up and throwing them on the field, but nobody's got. I mean, and maybe
yeah,
there is footage. I just haven't seen any of it. But there's all this word of mouth, and so people need to. You just can't tell me that if any of this happened, that they can't identify. There's too many cameras in that place. Everybody's got a phone.
sure,
So that's
sure. So it's a problem. Don't know what the solution is, but obviously there's going to have to be one at some point. So Dustin asked, "Level, can you please address the red zone struggles?"
well, it's back to what I talked about. I mean, like you had a run by Cam Dickey to the 4 or 5 yard line, and
Yeah.
there was a holding call on Howard Sampson.
Yep.
You end up getting backed up, and then you had a couple incompletes. Then Behren got hurt. I mean,
Sure.
that's that. I mean, it's really simple. You just got to quit. You got to quit with the penalties, and it's. I think in Houston, they were maybe got. I think they would say we got too cute with different personnel groups and too many different formations and the motions, and we're screwing our own selves up, and that's why we committed some of the false start penalties and things like that. But it's as good as your offensive line has gotten, and then when they play, they're playing well. There's just some issues there that
Yeah.
you got Kansas on their heels. Cam Dickey runs the ball to the, like I said, it's like the 5 or 6 4 yard line, somewhere around in there, and bring it back, and then you end up having to settle for a 40-yard field goal, I think, because you had an incomplete, and then I think you had a loss on the play, and then Behren got hurt, and the whole deal. So it's just all because of a holding call on Howard Sampson. Anyway, and they could have gotten. I think that was the play that you could have gotten maybe Sheridan Wilson on a hold too,
Sure.
by
Yeah.
the letter of the law. So that's just give yourself a chance. Maybe that if you don't hold, maybe that run only goes for 7 yards instead of 17 yards or something.
Yeah.
But just got to quit beating yourself.
Another question before we kind of transition towards the Arizona State game. This one comes from Xavier. It says, "What is Tech's biggest strength to this point in the season, and what is their biggest weakness in your eyes through the first half?"
Well, biggest strength is your front on defense.
Pretty obvious there. Yeah, I would say
That's
so.
and it's not just your line; it's your front seven.
Mhm.
I think you've been again, you're not 100% perfect, but I just think with what you're going against, I think that's been pretty consistent, and it's been pretty breathtaking. It's been pretty eye-opening. It's been pretty game-changing. It's been,
Yep.
I mean, just start adding them in there. Biggest weakness is, phew, maybe I don't know. I guess as you say it to me now, maybe it's recency bias, but it's probably just your passing game. Just because you're coming off of a game where or 2 games ago where you had a bunch of drops. I mean that led to a lot of your red zone issues. Um, and then this is a game where I think Kansas by design was like, "Hey man, good luck trying to run it. We're going to try to drop everybody," and you took what they gave you and punished them with it. But it just you weren't able to. The Wilhelm interception, threw it in quadruple coverage, and you just there was a few drops and some missed. So we're nitpicking here because you do have like one of the top 5 or 6 offenses in the country, yardage wise.
Passing offenses too. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, that's right. And so, but maybe it's just because I have the last 2 games fresh in my brain.
Sure. And that's a good
Yeah.
problem to have where you're having to
Oh yeah, because
search
it's not
for the
really
weakness.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not really a problem,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think you could take the low hanging fruit and say penalties discipline could also be
well,
your
yeah,
biggest weakness,
self-inflicted wounds
but
is
that's
certainly. I just feel
that's
like
the
I've talked
obvious.
about that. I've
Yeah.
talked about that enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
but again, these are
But you're having to look for it. Yeah.
these are champagne problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, level, well, as we move over towards the Arizona State game, we've got some questions on Behrens' health. There was one that asked about an update on Skyler Gill-Howard and Behren. Is there any light you can shed on either of those?
Yeah, well, I think you dodged a bullet with both guys because I think Skyler. I don't know if I would expect to see him this weekend, but the good news is you will see him again, and I wouldn't totally rule him out this week.
Okay.
I think at first when the cart comes out, the air cast comes out, you're thinking, "Oh no," because the
Yes.
crowd just went. You talk about taking the air out of the place. I'm like,
Hmm.
geez, man. And it was right at the start of the game. And you're thinking, okay, if it's not Mother Nature, it's going to be an injury to one of your best players and then one of your emotional, mature leaders that's got just a ton of street cred in the locker room. But not only was nothing broken and x-rays were negative, but they tried to warm him up in the indoor and potentially look at letting him come back into the game, which was stunning to
Yes.
find out based on kind of what your mind
Yeah. When you see a
went to.
cart,
Oh,
your
sure.
mind goes to the worst. Yeah.
Yes. And so that I think whether it's this week or 2 weeks or through whatever, I mean you'll see him again. Thank goodness.
Yes.
And with Barron, this is the same injury that he suffered against UAPB that has reared its ugly head again, and I think it's very painful. It's and I don't it's like it's on his calf lower leg,
Yeah.
whether it's bone or muscle or a combination of things. But I think this is why he's not sliding feet first, like when you see him at Utah,
Okay.
and he's like, "Well, I'd teach him how to slide." I think it's extremely painful for him, and so that's why it looks a bit wonky on that aspect. That's why it was such a big deal during the bye week when Joey's like, "Yeah, Barron's sending me videos of him sliding and stuff," and that's why that's a thing because I think he's trying to figure out a way to do it where it just doesn't it's not
Yeah.
painful. That injury has been like padded up and wrapped up with a 3D kind of special deal that he's got a legging over it, so you can't really see it.
Yeah.
Just with your naked eye, you can't really tell there's anything going on there. I would have told you leaving the stadium Saturday night that I didn't think he would play this week, and I still have questions about that. So I guess we'll just see how the week goes. I will say that if he can play, what level is he at? And then the whole him and finishing formula seems to work pretty good.
So
So
far, so
yeah,
far.
so far.
Yeah.
Um, but I think you need to be prepared for Will Hammond to start and Mitch Griffiths to be the backup. I mean, I
Okay.
think that, it's all on the table.
Yeah.
Whether either one starting, either one, I guess, being the backup, Mitch Griffiths, potentially being and it's worth mentioning that if Will Hammond plays, I mean, Devin Dampier, the QB run game just crushed Arizona State this weekend. He
Yeah.
ran for 110 yards and 3 touchdowns,
Yep.
and it was only on ten carries. So they just really didn't have an answer for the QB run game aspect of it. And as you saw in Utah and as you saw Saturday night in Lubbock, Texas, Will Hammond's pretty good at that too.
Yes, yes.
So we'll see. But it just makes you nervous when he's doing that and kind of majoring in it, and yet you're one play away from Mitch Griffiths running in there as the quarterback. I mean,
Right.
but this is why you have these guys. And we had said during the first couple of injury issues here that you're going to need both of these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you may need all three. There's a reason that you've got them all, and so anyway, there you go. But that's what I can tell you about Behren. So nothing would surprise me. There's been some reports out that he's day to day and all these things. I think that there's some gamesmanship there in that may be realistic, but we're just not going to know anything until later in the week or on set. They will know because they will have had to have prepared
Sure.
for
Sure.
scenarios and things like that. And I think the same thing with Sam Leavitt, Arizona State's quarterback. That's a potential first round draft pick. I fully expect him to play.
Okay.
It's a foot issue, is what I was told. That he kind of maybe had an issue with in Waco a couple of weeks ago. He's kind of played through it. It flared up. They just shut it down. I think that the thought, if you want to follow the theory, there's some thought that you're sitting here, you got a dinged up quarterback, you got a game going to Salt Lake, and then you got Texas Tech coming into town. We may not win at Utah anyway. So if we can save him and get him right for Texas Tech, because we can't afford to lose both games. So did they save him for your game? Maybe.
We've seen that before in basketball. We've heard that before where you've had that approach. So I that's a possibility, sure. But someone did ask a percent chance on Levitt. What do you think?
Oh, I'm going to say like 80,
Okay.
80 to 90. Oh, yeah, I fully expect to see him play.
Okay. And Brandel asked, and you kind of answered this, but could we potentially see both quarterbacks this weekend get some action?
For
So
Texas Tech?
so where they maybe rotate a little bit if
Well,
needed.
and you kind of in so many ways you really kind of seen that anyways,
Yeah.
even when they're both healthy. I think in certain situations, I think they're going to utilize Will Hammond. Now at Houston, it was just like the one play, and it didn't really work, and that was really it. But I think there's a plenty in there for him to play, even if Behren does. So, but if Will Hammond starts, that tells me that Behren is probably not playing. Maybe it's an emergency situation only, like
Right.
break the glass in case of emergency type situation. I don't know, but if Hammond starts, I think there's some likelihood there that Mitch Griffiths would indeed be the backup. And I'll tell you, he can run around like crazy too, man. He's got a lot of moxie.
Sure.
He is extremely well liked in that locker room. It is just quite the insurance policy to have somebody with Power Four experience sitting there third string that knows his role
Yeah,
and that can come back next year.
it's true.
You
Yeah.
know, he's not tall, but he's very athletic. His heart is in the right place, and he will make some plays, if anything, with his legs. So just keep that on the back burner for now.
So level Arizona State, you're a 10.5 point favorite, at least as we sit and record this towards the beginning of the week. That you have said from the summertime that Arizona State is the game you're most nervous about, the one that you kind of had circled from the beginning. You're also the only team that beat Sam Leavitt as a starter last season. So what is it that has had you nervous or had you concerned about this game? And were you surprised when you saw the initial line on this game?
Well, I was a bit surprised. I mean, I get, Arizona State hasn't quite been as good, but they still are because here's the reality. If they beat you this weekend, they all of a sudden are ahead of you in the Big
Sure,
12 standings,
sure. Yeah.
just like that. That you would both be 3-1 in the league, and they would have the tiebreaker over you. So this is the reality. What did Ric Flair used to say? To be the man, you got to beat the man. That's what makes you the most nervous.
Be the man. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
He didn't really sing it like that. Like you, that was a
You
poor.
gotta beat. I didn't want to really yell it into the
Okay.
mic and hurt
Yeah.
people's ears.
Yeah.
And then he throws a
Yeah.
woo after that too, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
sorry.
But they have NFL talent on their team. I think their coach does a damn good job. He doesn't get caught up in a lot of the shenanigans that other coaches do. He was actually complimentary of the environment in Lubbock, Texas last year, and basically said, "This is how I wish our environment was." Just saying. Um, and they've got a pro style offense. Where Leek Brown has got the stats there at running back. I think he's been really good. I think they probably do miss a bit of an edge that Cam Scattaboo gave them. There's kind of something that seems to be missing, but Shimon Mateer, their tight end, is an NFL tight end. They have arguably the best skill player in the conference in Jordan Tyson, who they just
Yeah.
manufacture touches to, and he's really good. I think Bryce Pollock could make a lot of money this weekend
Very good.
if you can limit him. And it's worth mentioning too, your defense's ability to take away the other team's best player has been pretty fascinating.
Yes, it has.
Because 2 weeks ago it was Tanner Koziol,
Tight end.
2 or 3 catches, 10 yards.
Very
This
limited.
past week it was Manuel Henderson with I think 3 catches, 42 yards. Just kind of was a non-factor. And but Jordan Tyson's the best one you're going to see all year. It's not even close.
Sure.
He's a potential first wide receiver taken in the draft, and this is Jalen Tyson's brother. For people that don't know, that the former Texas Tech basketball player that ended up transferring to Cal, that was also a first round draft pick. And I don't. I think the thing that scares you is you are going to have to go beat them. You're going to have to go take the title away, kind of thing. And I just think you're going to get their best shot, and it's tailor made for them to play the underdog,
Yeah.
double digit. We just got smashed. Oh, woe is me. They are the champ. And it's a fascinating game of motivation that I'm sure each coach will play with his team because you beat these guys last year. You think Kenny Dillingham won't bring that up? And yet Joey's going to say, they have what you want. We put all this together to take what they have. This is what we're here for. But I think you catch a break with the game time, maybe. Maybe it's just a slight
Probably.
thing. They haven't been as explosive as I would have thought. Again, it's a pro style offense that is a bit methodical. Now I will tell you that both their starting safeties and a starting offensive lineman could be lost for this weekend on the Arizona State side of it. Their 2 starting safeties are, I think, 3rd and 4th in their tackles list right now, and they are apparently, according to the folks around that program, very, very good. I think they both could be lost for an extended period of time, according to Coach Dillingham. So keep an eye on that because you may catch a break as we're sitting here talking about Behren and Skyler Gill-Howard and all those things.
Yep.
And the offensive lineman that they lost plays some guard and center, but he's like what you'll read and are told about him is like his last name's Coleman. I think Will Coleman is his name, but he's like the stabilizer, amongst the group. He kind of is the connector amongst the group up front and very versatile. But I think he was injured versus Utah, so we'll see. This one again, it just makes me nervous because you got to go. They're the man right now. It's their league until somebody says otherwise. Now, if you go beat them, and if you got 2 wins over them, and you got the tiebreaker over them, they're not your problem anymore. They're everybody else's problem. But they can't afford a second league loss. And I think Dillingham does a hell of a job. So. And if Leavitt's back, that's a first-round quarterback. That's a first-round wide receiver. There's just a lot that could potentially scare you. But I will say this before we move on. With what I've seen, it's much like Utah and Houston in the sense that if you play your pretty good game to best game, you'll be fine. But if you help them and you make mistakes and with the penalties or whatever you're doing, you can't. This is not a team you can fiddle with. There's plenty of these games coming up,
Yeah.
where you can play with your food a bit, and you can
Sure.
shove your peas around the plate and go, yeah, I'm gonna let mom make it look like I ate all these. I'm just gonna spread them all out, and she won't know any different. But this isn't one of those games. Like you need to go play well. So if Joey's team or could pick a game to really put it all together, this is the one
Yeah. Yeah. I think
in the regular
you need your
season.
best shot so far.
Yeah, in the regular season. Because then if you get this one, you start looking at your schedule, and it's like, yeah, the trip to Manhattan not going to be easy. BYU coming here not going to be easy, but this one is they're the champ for a reason. I mean, and they've been to where you are desperately trying to get to.
Yep. We didn't get to all the questions. I'm going to sneak one more in from Mike real quick before we wrap level. This one says, was recent coach firings, are you concerned that any of our coaches may be poached, specifically defensive coordinator? And if so, will Tech do what's necessary to keep him?
Well, these are, when you're really good, these are things that you have to worry about. Shieldwood, Blanche, Mac Leftwich, Joey, I guess this is just part of the sport, part of the business. I just don't foresee that you would lose anybody because of money, though. No, I don't. I
Right.
think
Like
that
if you're talking about a coordinator going for a head coaching position, that's different than the money stuff.
Right. But I think you will, to answer the question, you will do what it needs to be done there. I mean, because this is, how long is it taking you to get to this point? And you don't want to yeah, man, that's fine. Go ahead and take it. And, we can't afford to pay you whatever else and all that. So, because I tell you, who's in line to get a big raise is Joey.
Sure.
I mean, your basketball coach is making more than he is, and Grant deservedly so. But
yeah,
Joey's like, what did we see the rankings, like 50th highest paid coach in the country or something?
I think so.
And again, he makes a great living, but I'm just saying, like, market wise,
right,
he's vastly underpaid compared to a lot of his Big 12 brethren. And so if this keeps up, he will get a fancy contract too. And I'm guessing he'll get more money to spread out to his staff, and they deserve it.
Yeah, no doubt. Level, great stuff. We talked 6-0 this week. Hopefully we get to talk 7-0 next week.
Yeah, man. Keep those pocket knives in your pocket.
I will.
It's called a pocket knife for a reason.
Yeah.
Hey, and great intro on the show today. It was extremely well done. I appreciated it.
Thanks, Level.
Thank you to you, Woodman. Thank you to the folks at Kentex Roofing. And I guess we'll talk to everybody next time.
That's Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. You've been tuned in to the Ask Level podcast, brought to you by the Double T Sports Network.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by the Double T Sports Network. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more great content from all of our shows on the Double T Sports Network.